Let me let her share that the answer to your question of the bug that she's talking about while folks are arriving for a minute. Go ahead,
Okay,
Shikwi.
cool.
Oh yeah, yes. There's I figure out there is a one bug on our code, Scrappy code that
Okay.
yeah, it works properly last week. Yeah, but yesterday when I trying to like scrap again, the scrapper cannot like auto click to the next page. Like we
Okay.
only scrap on one product page, and then for each product, it can only scrap one page of reviews. Maybe that's
Got it.
we will change the website or something wrong with our agent.
So
Your agent.
I'd like to connect that we've got some other colleagues joining us here. Shikwi, is there a person that has experience with the software that you're talking about that can help you with address that bug, or is that something that Kong Yu, do you have knowledge of what she's referring to, and would you be able to help her offline on that?
I don't have experience with that software, but I think I'm able to look into the code and see if there anything that I can do.
That would be terrific. I want to acknowledge that we've got a quorum of colleagues now gathered, so if we can do a quick round of introductions for people who are new here to be able to meet folks, I think that would be very helpful. Shikwi, would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go around the rest of the room for the same.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Xi Cui, and I'm a double major in computer science and statistics, and now contribute for data science team. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Welcome, Ivy. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, this is Ivy again. I am on the data science team, and I've recently been collaborating closely with the product team to design visualizations, and the product team should have some new progress to present very soon.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Ivy. Harsh, would you like to introduce yourself? Welcome. Harsh, oh, you're on chat. Okay, so if you're not able to speak, Jose, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jose, and I have a background in analytics consulting and recently graduated from a master's in data science. So I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Jose. Hi, Cassie. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Cassie. I joined the data science team a couple weeks ago, and I'm a master's student studying business analytics and graduating in May, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much, Cassie. Can I turn to Kong Yu? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, sure. Hi everyone. My name is Yu Kong. I'm a recent graduate from Washington University in St. Louis, and I have a degree in business analytics. And now, I'm working with the data science team a couple of weeks now, and see if there anything that I can help.
Thank you so much, Kong Yu. It's extremely helpful. Nian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Nian Zhao, and I majored in operations research in Columbia University, and my concentration is data science, and I look forward to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nian. Pei Swan, is that if I'm pronouncing that right? Or Pei Swan Lin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Patient, and I graduated from Rice with a PhD in chemical engineering. And then I will be joining in data science team. Hope there is something that I can help. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Welcome. SU, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, this is Yu, and I'm majoring in operations research, and I'm in the data science team. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. And Santosh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So my major is Management Information System, and I look forward to working with all of you and my team.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to collaborating. Sudarshan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys. My name is like Sudarshan, and sorry again I'm repeating the name. I'll be working more on the front end. I have some experience on the React part. Yeah, looking forward to work with you all.
Terrific. And one bridge is Ivy from product team is on the call, and she's been on the team that's been looking at the React app and future productization dimensions. So that's part of the bridge, and she'll also that's that call we've had on later on Saturdays with the product team. But welcome, Sudarshan. Thank you. Simone, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Simon. I'm a Master of Public Health student. My focus is in epidemiology and research methods.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all the public health efforts that you've undertaken here. Let me turn to Yan Ting. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Yuan Ting and I'm new here, brand new. I just assigned to public health group this Friday, so hope to work well with you guys.
Thank you, Yan Ting, and Vice Simone can include you in the public health collaboration, and we can introduce you as of this meeting towards that intention. So let's check in to folks who have material that they'd like to share. Who here wants to have time on the agenda to share where they're at? I can go around the room and ask that question in terms of that. Kessie, is there material that you wanted to share today in terms of this?
Yeah, I do have some exploratory result I would like to share today.
Terrific. Would you like to do that now, or should we do that later in the meeting?
Yeah, sure, I can do it now.
Okay.
Just a second. So can you guys see?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to present this thing. I know that on probably this Thursday or something, you guys had another call with the data science team. Unfortunately, I was not able to join. However, I did listen to Vasimo's research question that she would like to solve, which is this too. So I would like to know more detail about, do you guys want to do this in a product wise or ingredients wise? Like, do you want to see if this health outcome improve based on the product base or it's based on the ingredients?
Both. I mean, if we're looking at it from a individual ingredient, we have examples of individual ingredients that connect to one of the 9 pathways already. There's also products and there's also recipes. So it's individual or combinations of ingredients that have potential for effectiveness for stress, anxiety, sleep.
I see. Because I think if we just look at the ingredient wise, then it would be a different approach, which is our current approach right now. The team right now, we're just trying to get the database on the Amazon key search word on Amazon, and I created a Google sheet where our whole team are going to assign on scraping the data for each individual ingredient. And like you say here, you can see oats is also called this name. So what I did was, this week I wanted to just take a look of the THC ingredient, and then because THC ingredient is also called this delta thing, don't know how to pronounce this one. Yeah, so that's why I had to combine these 2 different keywords into one, and this is what the table looks like. And then after that, I cleaned the data, and then I use a size spacey. So it's a really cool package because one of the research question was trying to see if this ingredient is helpful for the disease or something. And this package allows us to see whether someone has mentioned if they have any disease in the review. So
Oh,
you can,
terrific. So could you help us understand, do they have within the list of diseases they cover stress and anxiety
yes.
synonyms? And so could you help us understand that a bit better?
Yeah, it does have a list of all the different diseases, and I did see stress and anxiety. And this is one example based on their website. So you can see this is one of the disease, and this is another disease. And then after that, I just run on our data, and then I can see, okay, so this product in the reviews, there are 128 of the time that people did mention about disease. Is that what you guys
But
are looking for?
which disease though? Stress and anxiety specifically, or any disease?
Any disease, it would not be correct all the time, but I just think this is a good way to start.
Well,
So
yeah, I think that what we've been trying to do is attribute, did someone say this was effective for their stress or anxiety? Like ashwagandha, was it effective for their stress or anxiety? Rhodiola, etc. And so if we have that goal, then does this tool of the size sprayer, it sounds like it's worth evaluating in more detail in terms of what we can use it for. But could we use it to improve the accuracy of our effectiveness attribution NLP? Supposing we had 5 million foods and products from Amazon and other sites extracted that had foods from the effectiveness checker in them, those 200 ingredients, and then suppose we took those 200 ingredients across those 5 million products and applied this size sprayer package to our NLP. Do you think that that would allow us to improve our accuracy? Is that part of the claim here?
I think what we can do is, so let's say you want to see stress and anxiety, then maybe we can, so this disease column is the result from using this package. And then those are the disease based on this package. So what we can do is we just filter out the disease that have stress, anxiety, and sleep, if that's what you want.
Yeah. Do you have the information of the list of what diseases it covers, and does this cover side effects as well? Because you can also say, do we have attribution for effectiveness that we discover side effects are common? We don't need to do this for kava because we would not even include kava because it's public health problematic in the first place. But if you were to see the reviews for kava, there's lots of individual attributions of side effects in addition to looking at these from effectiveness category. We know there's bad side effects from that one, but for the other analysis, so is this basically a classification engine for disease based on natural language processing, or is this?
No, it's not any model yet. This is just the very beginning, just trying to see if in the review they talk about any disease.
Got it. Let me see. Are we at the right point to get questions from colleagues, or did you have more that you wanted to present before that?
Oh, that's done. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce this package to everyone.
And do you have the link to where people can see the package and learn more, as well as what you've done from a coding perspective?
Yeah, sure,
there?
of course.
Terrific. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's questions or feedback for Kessie based on that. So I think there sounds like this is an intersecting existing tool set that exists in data science that could apply to this public health context. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, hi, Cassie. I just wanted to ask, what was the list? I saw that you had a lot of reviews. What was the list of items that you used, or did you use Grace scraping tool to retrieve all those reviews, and you haven't posted them on the repo?
No, I'm actually using C-Trace Scraper, and it's really helpful. It's really
Oh, but so you didn't. I mean, the file containing all the reviews, that isn't up, right?
What do you mean?
I mean the file that the source that you use to read all the reviews. That I guess it's a CSV output generated by this scraping tool. Did you upload that, or is it like you have it in your local computer?
Oh, it's in my logo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Feel free to add anything that we need to the data science folder, but that's got it. So this is the SciSpray link, and then it says it's got biomedical data and a full vocabulary. So do we have a sense that then it says it has information on DNA? Here, let me just share screen for a moment on this SciSpray for a moment, and we could see if there's other feedback from that. So do you see my screen?
Yes.
So this SciSpray for biomedical text processing has informations on, I mean, I don't think someone was going to talk about DNA or RNA in a review, but it's interesting that they're at that level of analysis. But they have, but within that list is disease, and so they talk about the different kinds of disease. So I think that the data sources that they have are, looks like PubMed Central Open Access subset. So this does look like it's trained on health information. Okay, that's helpful to understanding it. Feedback on the same thread or questions for Kessie or commentary on this around the group. I'll ask Kong Yu, did you have feedback or commentary on this?
I don't have any feedback, but I think like what Cassie shows is very useful and definitely worth to explore. So, yeah.
Terrific, and feel free to be in coordination to explore any piece that we need to. Feedback or questions from Neon?
No, I think it's great, and I would like to thank Casey and Shisui for their contribution on the code so that we can use them to scrape all the reviews. Thank you.
Terrific.
I do want to add another thing. For the scraping the review, actually C-Tray already posted on the GitLab, so feel free to take a look.
If you want to share the link to that within GitLab, that might be helpful for folks to find it. That's great. Also going around the room, other folks that have feedback on this. Pei Swan Lin, did you have feedback on this? No. SU, did you have feedback on this? Feedback or commentary?
So I think all is great, but there is one thing like I come up with is not all the reviews actually contain the sophisticated like terminology. So I wonder, using this package, like how much percentage of the reviews are actually like useful in determining the effectiveness of the product?
Kessie, that's an interesting question. We have look, if we want to explain this theoretically, there's folksonomies, taxonomies, ontologies. Folksonomies are informal descriptors that exist in natural language. Taxonomies, formal, hierarchical, expert, organizational categories. Ontologies, when does this have recommendational force? But does this cover folksonomies as well as taxonomies, or is this more for people who happen to mention it in a clinically appropriate way, which might be a percentage of the reviews? Cassie, did you have feedback on that?
Yeah, I think Right now, this is just the first step to explore more about this. So I will need to do more exploratory analysis to see what I can do in order to solve this problem. Because right now, it's just about how many time or if this review will actually even talk about the disease.
Got
And
it.
sometime it might not even be a disease. So there was one review, someone mentioned, oh, this tea is too sweet, and then it categorized this as one of the disease. So it's not correct. So I'm trying to figure it out what we can do on top of this. So
Well, and it may be that we analyze via multiple NLPs that reveal different things. In other words, it doesn't mean that we could have a cumulative algorithm and see how it shows up based on different processes and see if we can triangulate between different modalities of understanding, if that's helpful to improving the results. I mean, I think there should be, if there are 5 million reviews of foods and herbs for stress from this list of 200 ingredients, there should be more than 100,000 combinations of those ingredients, and seeing how NLP ranks those combinations as well as the individual ingredients should be something that draws upon whatever methodologies we have to make sense of that information. So open to that process in a way you'd think. I'm going to go around the rest of colleagues for feedback on the same, and then we can turn to other folks who might want to present and we can review. Santosh, did you have feedback or commentary on what you've heard here?
No, I didn't have.
Sudarshan, did you have feedback or commentary on what you heard here?
No, I was just mostly understanding things. One thing, what Casey mentioned was we are looking more in the direction of ingredients rather than on the product.
Ingredients and products, so
Yeah.
both, really.
What I felt was like a product is nothing but made up of ingredients, right? So why
Right.
should we look into products? Can't we just
Well,
look into
because products have variability by manufacturer. Suppose there's the same ingredients, but one manufacturer does a horrendous job and the other one does a great job. And the variability in ratings is because of the manufacturer difference, not because of the ingredients difference.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be the reason. Okay, so feedback on the same thread from Shikui. Did you have commentary or feedback on what Kessie shared here?
Yes, I know Cassie has already scrapped some keywords, like already get some outputs from several keywords. So could you please like push the output CSV file on the GitLab so everyone can get the source data set? And right now the coding has some bug. So the code has a bug. So I think we prefer to keep the the older data set right now, as we cannot get the whole reviews for the rest of the keywords, as the code only can scrub one page of products and one page of reviews.
So you're saying that the scraping code we have that Kessie used is limited in terms of what it can extract? Is that the?
No, I think last week works well. So the code, so the data set scrapped several days ago is the right output.
Got it.
Right, yeah, but right now we cannot get the right output again. So
Okay, that's the bug you were referring to. Got it.
yeah, so I will fix this, but I may need some times. But at the meantime, we can use the old data set as it is right data set and with all reviews. So we can do some data explorer. Keep doing data explorer and analyzing on that data set, and I will fix this for the rest keywords.
Got it.
Yeah.
Kessie, go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I'm happy to help with that. It's when I checked the file output, it did pull. We talked about it yesterday, I think. It did pull all of the like 1,200 reviews for the items that I was checking. So yeah, I didn't know that it was broken, but I'm happy to help you with that if you need.
Thank you.
That'd be
I
great.
just wanted to say the reason why I haven't pushed the data set is because I was waiting for Cease to upload a better scraper so that we can like get the correct data set. And I was just trying to see if that worked. And yeah. And also you mentioned you used the previous or old data. Do you mean the one you pushed it on Saturday, last Saturday without the product name?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yes, that can scrap all the reviews, but I'm not sure which part has changed. Like if the Amazon changed their website code, update their website or something like that, or the user agent has been used several times. There is a file on that under that folder called setting.py. There is a user agent there, but I may talk about you later on Slack, or if someone would like to cooperate with me, I can share how this code work and
It sounds like Jose volunteered to be in touch with you on that, so maybe y'all
okay,
can share.
yeah. Maybe we talk about that later. Yeah.
Terrific. Feedback on this, what's been shared from Yan Ting? Feedback or questions from Yan Ting?
I don't have any question, but because this is not the part I really know, so yeah, I just listening.
All good. No worries. Vice Simone, did you want to offer any feedback or commentary on what you heard here? I know that it's data science, but it intersects public health, so I thought I'd share the chance for you to offer feedback or questions.
I think it's exciting. I think once we better define our illnesses, stress, sleep, and anxiety, maybe we can even further filter it through like GAD, PTSD, and see what kind of ingredients and see who out there in this world has been self-treating themselves through what. And with the DNA part, I thought that was very interesting because there's two genes that I'm aware of, COMT, BD, and F, which deals with response to stress. And if there's any data out there on who's been using what ingredient to treat these specific genes and their stress, that would be interesting to be able to extract that data.
Got it. So part of what you're saying is we could look at this in terms of covariates to say if we were to extract 1 million product reviews for different products, and if those people have these overlapping statements, like in the review they said, I'm dealing with this, and so this has been really helpful to me. We could then see if the rank of the medicinal foods varies depending on what covariates we see in the review data.
Basically on what, so when they leave their comment, they'll say like, you know, they've been using this specific ingredient to treat this specific gene. I know that's pretty advanced in terms of like self-diagnosis and treatment, but possibly data's out there. I don't know, but
I
it
think
would be
it's
interesting to explore.
really interesting thread. Ivy, did you have commentary on what's been shared here, or questions for Kessie, or on the thread Vice Simone just raised?
I think I will need a little bit help understanding like it was the THC as at least one of the identified.
Yeah, I mean, that one we should probably not have as a focal point, just because it's one of the ones that has varying legal restrictions. So I think that it was on the Green Med info list, along with about 10% of those have varying legal restrictions in different parts of the world. So ideally we focus on the ones that are legal everywhere, which is 95% of all the stress and anxiety ones. But I think that it was just an example from the effectiveness checker that she's looked at, Ivy. So if we look at the effectiveness checker and exclude, as we I thought we had already, but maybe we didn't, any of the ones that are not universally legal, then we can then say, here are the effectiveness checker ones that exist in Amazon. Here are the effectiveness ones that exist in publicly accessible ones, and here's the way they've been responded to by consumer behavior.
Okay, got it. So we would need to exclude those that are possibly cannabis.
Yeah, we should exclude it, just not because it's legal in 25 states, but we're trying to start this with things that are legal in 50 states. If someday the federal government changes its status, which I expect will happen in the next 2 to 4 years, we could add it back in. But until they do, I think let's start with the rest of the foods and herbs that we have, because I think it's also different. There's different places you would look for data on it anyways. So I think it's best to just exclude it, except the only thing though that's a little bit more unclear is CBD is used for stress and anxiety too, and that is legal in like 45 states. So, we might consider dealing with those as, I think we should deal with those as a special case and deal with them later. I think we should deal with the legal ones first and defer anything related to things that have any states that don't have it legally normed to. But I think, these will become legal in a year or 2 or 3. So at that point, we can include them in a full way.
Sounds good.
In terms of this, other feedback or questions on where we're at with this? Harsh, did you have feedback questions? I think you were typing, so maybe you're off speaker. So in terms of other threads that would be worth reviewing, I wanted to check in with other colleagues to see if they have material they'd like to share. Kong Yu, did you have material that you'd like to share with the group?
Right now, I don't have any material to share. I'm still working on like the whole data extraction process, and I think I'm able to share something like during next week's meeting.
Great. And the data extraction process is what you're overlapping with what Kessie and Shikui shared?
Yes.
Okay. Nian, did you have material that you'd like to share today?
No.
All good. SU, did you have material you'd like to share today?
No.
All good. Vice Simone, did you have material that you'd like to share today? I wanted to check in. I know that there's been some material in the public health team. Did you want to share some of that for a little bit of time here with this group?
Yes, I did want to quickly wrap up my health promotion concept, just real quickly.
Got it. So you're going to present?
Yes.
Okay. Terrific.
Sorry, just I updated my software and now but I'll just talk through it.
Okay.
So I know I started with my concept and the health problem and identified the genetic, physiological, biological risks, behavioral risks, environmental risks, and the underlying factors to include predisposing, reinforcing factors, and enabling factors before, and how we were going to eventually solve the health issues of stress, anxiety, and sleep. So to finish that concept and bring it to CrowdDoing, so in public health, or kind of through the way I'm thinking about it is, what are we selling? We're selling medicinal foods for stress, sleep, and anxiety. So what we're doing is selling behavior change, and the augmented product would be the medicinal foods. So the behavior change that we're trying to achieve is increasing the consumption of medicinal foods, or are we meeting we wanting the consumers to meet a recommended dietary guideline? So I think better defining the behavior change that we want. And then we're hoping
Well, in other words, there's not a recommended dietary guideline for ashwagandha or rhodiola or lemon balm, but there's a daily shortfall in the level of unmanaged stress that exists that could be addressed with those tools, and that is a better alternative than leaving it unmanaged and turning that into chronic stress. And because chronic stress increases risks of opioid addiction and hyperalcoholism and other kinds of harmful coping strategies. So we're aiming to have behavior change in terms of embracing healthy alternative ways to manage stress and anxiety as a way that should be a universal tool for people. Because right now, I think, what was the estimate? We had 3 or 4 of the 9 pathways are used by anybody. That, you know, if we open that pathway section, you know, that means the majority of the pathways are not being used, right? So if we see this pathways section here, you know, we have okay, so we have pathways that are anti-inflammatory. There's a significant percentage of people who are using those. Adaptogens, more people who are interested in natural medicine or Ayurvedic tradition, et cetera, would be adopting those. I'd say 90% of Americans are not adopting those. Maybe 99%, 95%. Maybe it's, you know, something in that range. GABA, likewise, you know, there's small doses that exist in things that people are common that access commonly, but in terms of a dose that has a mental health effect, I don't think a large percentage of people are getting a sufficient dose of GABA to address fear-based anxiety. Serotonin, tryptophan, some people are, some people aren't. Endorphins, sure, some people are, some people aren't. Oxytocin, you know, there's some of this in common foods. Dopamine, I think there's less, a lower percentage, more like, you know, 10% or less of people are getting enough dopamine compared to the need in terms of common use of foods. Likewise, adrenal support, you know, is a small percentage, maybe less than 10%. Nervines, less than 10%. Blood sugar regulation, yeah, more like 50%, et cetera. So, you know, it's saying that at least half of the tools that every brain has for managing stress and anxiety are not being used currently. So it's maybe capacity building people to develop healthy habits that allow them to avoid unmanaged stress. Would that be the way to think about it, Simone, or would you have some refinements or revisions to what I shared to suggest in terms of where you were going with that?
So since we are a health promoting program, we should define a health behavior goal that is measurable and realistic. For example, in public health, you would say something like increase the consumption of medicinal foods among medicinal food subscriber by 35% in the United States over 2 years, something that we can achieve realistically and have it well defined. So right now, I'm actually curious if we have subscribers, or the website is just open for people to look and review.
We have subscribers on Pinterest, and I think we created a email list form on the website that Chuck set up that we can access and coordinate for marketing purposes. But we think that we're going to have, you know, in the drop shipping team, we're going to have people subscribing to the subscription box, and that's going to be, you know, for a fee, and they're going to get a physical box. And then we're also planning to have the email list connected to sharing what we're public health information that's relevant, like what we have on the website. So having information context there.
Yeah, so I just think that coming up with a behavior objective is good, because it's hard to measure the whole entire United States because they're not our subscribers. We don't have a count of them. How can we say how many people actually change their behavior? So we even narrow it down by subscribers, and we have a subscriber count. And then out of them, who turned into customers, at least we could measure that somehow, having a program effect or in that. So how do we get to behavior change? We need to tackle individual level changes and structural level changes.
Well, so one example we have, I don't know if we only want to measure stress and anxiety with cortisol because there's other measures too, but ashwagandha has been shown to reduce cortisol levels by 30%. So describing the 90% of Americans who are not using ashwagandha and could, for example, have a 30% gain just from clinical evidence on ashwagandha specifically as a benchmark across what we're doing, you could say, aspirational goal, how do you get 90% of Americans and other global citizens to have a 30% reduction in cortisol? I'd say there's an incremental goal, which is to say, how do we get subscription box subscribers to have a 30% reduction in cortisol? I'd say there's proxies for a 30% reduction of cortisol that we could say we have a survey of subscribers and see before and after of to subscribing to the box, whether their stress survey goes down. I'd like to connect this thread to Ivy. Did you want to offer feedback on this, given the other sub-teams that you've been connective to in terms of thinking about what kinds of goal setting we should align to this, and how that relates to how we might have a goal in data science of extracting enough data to have a medicinal foods index. We might have a goal in data science of being accurate in terms of effectiveness attribution. We might have a goal that intersects public health and data science and potentially our need for an expansion of marketing efforts in order to, say that we're able to target, a population of interested. Suppose there's 1 million people interested in natural foods as medicine on social media platforms, and we want to get a trial group of 1,000 of them to be able to adopt and embrace new capacities through medicinal food literacy. So is there a way that we can think about metrics that exist in the market, metrics that exist in a effectiveness attribution sense, and how those metrics connect to a public health roll-up? Is that something you'd like to offer feedback on, Ivy?
Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. So, as for the past couple weeks, been collaborating with the product team. So for building this digital product, we should really, of course, content marketing and education unit and the things that we do in data science to help our potential users make better decisions in managing their stress anxiety, but also using the tools that we have in hand that could potentially directly turn our, I guess, audience into subscribers and users and actually adapting into the medicinal foods lifestyle. I think it's important. For example, having this digital product built out as a web application, also a mobile app, would be very efficient in terms of the way that we present and then help users visualize the pathways and how the foods are associated, and eventually the user experience will lead the users to actually explore, maybe through clicking on the links that we have to the dropshipping site that we launch, and then also maybe do some like very innovative way of help present and display the review data that the NLP aspects present. I think would be a good way. So that's more work on the product team side, but having the product to help with it is definitely something to look more into.
Terrific. And vis-a-vis that, I'd like to see on the product team, Sudarshan, did you have feedback on this thread from what Ivy was just sharing?
Whatever I was saying, yes, it's true, and like I just want to discuss more into it and know more. before commenting here.
All good. So, other feedback on this thread in terms of how we connect together. We have data science of market behavior, the million people or 10 million people who offered reviews of medicinal foods. We have data science about the potential market of the 90% of people who have barriers to use of medicinal foods. They don't know what a tincture is. They don't understand medicinal dosing of a tincture, for example, or they don't have other medicinal food literacy. So there's, that's where some of the market research that came in for drop shipping team connects in. And then there's, saying what is the public health barrier to adoption? Partially it's an evidence swamp, partially it's an evidence desert. We can create an evidence oasis with a mix of clinical evidence and data science. I think that's interesting. Let me see. Yan Ting, did you want to offer feedback on what we've been discussing here?
Yeah, I just agree with the public health thing and I willing to keep up with the public health group to see what can I help to do.
Terrific. Vice Simone, can you share any material she needs to get oriented to the public health team and be in touch with her?
Yes.
Terrific. SU, did you want to offer feedback on this thread that's been raised in terms of, we have the data science of, is it effective in public record historically? We have the data science of, is each subscriber, is it becoming effective for them? We have the data science maybe of, are they learning enough to navigate these? And then maybe there's decision-making support. I guess a recommendation engine and decision support are two different metaphors, but maybe they're both applicable. Did you have feedback on this, SU?
I think all is good, and I want to see more data so I can offer more feedback on that.
More data from the review data?
Yes, and also you mentioned the recommendation agents. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, there's a decision making that exists. If you have a recommendation, maybe you're curating the world and saying, have this tea. A decision model is saying, well, are you facing fear-based anxiety? Well, here's a GABA tea. Are you feeling like you're looking forward to a struggle of a day that feels so extra long and anxiety provoking that you feel overwhelmed by that? If you're feeling overwhelmed, adaptogenic pathways are what is helpful versus fear-based anxiety, GABA pathways are what is helpful. So, that would be a decision support framework. If it's like a one-line, Alexa, I'm stressed, what natural remedy would you recommend? Have some lemon balm tea. That's a recommendation model, effectively. A navigation model is what we refer to with the pathways. So, during this part of my month, I tend to feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to add adaptogens on every Tuesday and Thursday, which are the days I get overwhelmed because of my obligations those days or whatever, right? Like someone could have a intentionality to reflect upon these tools and apply them in their life. So functional medicine is saying, how do we turn complexity science? How do we term the complexity of something like the human body, and how do we make that something that we can have access to a toolkit that we can use with intentionality to have agency? So well, I think part of the question, though, is back to Ivy. Is that the way you're describing these metaphors? Decision making, navigation, recommendation. Are those the right metaphors for us to be referring to the product team's research in this frame, Ivy? Or discovery would be the other, maybe.
Yes, I would like to add to it. So for the digital product, with the bridging the gap with data science, what we're building using all the review public data, eventually, I think a recommender system, recommendation engine to be built in the product, in a digital product, would be very beneficial.
Yeah, one point that I would like to make here. Hello.
Go
Can
ahead,
you?
please.
Yeah. So one of the product that had worked previously, which is named as Skin Laundry, in they had a one application where you recommend a particular medicine or a cream or something like that. But before that, we take a assessment from the user saying, okay, are you allergic to this one, like this particular chemical or like this ingredient? So I just want to understand how are we doing and how is the user flow, and based on what are we recommending the user, okay, this product is for you or this is suitable for you. Was I
So, Ivy, would you like to respond to that?
So, sounds like a more straightforward way of. So, it's more like asking one question instead of throwing all the information at a user, but instead asking a simple question first and then get into the next level of all the, I guess, the education framework that we previously elaborated. Is that what you're asking?
So I think the question I'd connect to Sudarshan's comment is that there's a model of intention, which is if someone already has an intention, you can just give them the answer. If someone knows what they need to Google for, and then they type it into Google, Google gives them the answer, right? But if we're talking about something where they don't necessarily know that foods and herbs exist that are effective for stress and anxiety, and they don't know that there's a ladder where you could have chamomile tea offered to a 15-year-old studying for a quiz, but for you could have a college student who's struggling with an exam, and you could give them ashwagandha, and this is a possible response. And if someone's really struggling, you could also give them California poppy, and these are all legal, universal, ubiquitous herbal medicines that exist in a stepladder of function. But people aren't aware of the spectrum, they aren't aware of the category, and they're not aware of the history of use. And the scientific evidence is misleading because there's a lot of it that's siloed, and because we've not traditionally drawn upon big data evidence and public health clinical evidence and expert evidence in multidisciplinary integrated processes. And so if you looked at any one of those, you might get a conclusion, come to a conclusion that would be misleading. But does that partially answer the question you had there, or did you want to rephrase the part if we missed it, part of it?
I just want to add to it. Uh, I mean, just taking a scenario where a user reaches our web application and he wants a medicinal food for stress. So we ask him a first question like, what is that you're looking for? Is it a stress and anxiety, or the other one? So if he selects stress, then do we can recommend directly 5 products, but then okay, some of the products might have some ingredients which may not be suitable for him. So we might also ask second level of question saying, are you aware, or like, are you allergic to some of these ingredients? If that is the case, then we can remove that from the for him, like.
Right, but in other words, we're not trying to build a once and over experience for them, because if we just recommended 5 products and then they go away and then they never come back, that wouldn't be a habit building process. We want to give them regular access to these tools, right? And it may be that doesn't happen overnight, but over the next 3 months, we'd like for them to experiment with 5 kinds of tea and 5 tinctures and 5 powders, and do so, and see if they feel less stressed when they have done so, and compare that to when they're not doing so, and learn self-awareness enough so that they can build a habit. So I think that's, we do want to recommend the most effective, but we also want to do so in a way that is not treating this as a once in a lifetime, okay, I tried it, I didn't feel much, so I'm going to ignore it. It's more like, how do we build increasing degrees and dimensionalities of self-awareness and capability for them to access this across time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got the idea here. Just one question. I might I might be not aware of this. Let's say there is one product, right? Out of that one ingredient, can that be allergic to a particular user?
Sure, there are some people with specific allergies to specific things, and there are also people that are allergic to something and have never had that thing, and they discover their allergy the first time they have that thing.
Yes. In that case, how do we know that they have allergic to this particular product?
We don't, but we also know that these are not generally. I mean, maybe there's exceptions. We should look at the whole list of 200 and vet them for this question. But the same way that we are excluding kava because it's clinically evidenced to be unsafe, even if it's commonly used. It's clinically evidenced to be unsafe if you have a lot of it over time. So we don't want to build a habit of it, basically, for that reason. So just as that is clinically evidence, I think that there's information about how common allergies are for particular things. I mean, I think that there are some allergies that are very common and very severe and very important, like peanut allergies, for example, can be deadly for a small percentage of the population, etc. So, it's possible that that we want to make sure that people can, if they have allergies that they know about, maybe we need to gather that information for the drop shipping box, for example. But of course, then the question becomes how much medically sensitive information are we gathering, and then do we have other data integrity, data protection things we need to accommodate for that. But I definitely think that we should be able to have an understanding that if there's a medicinal food that has severe allergic reaction history in the clinical literature, or even in the review literature that we see, maybe we should exclude that or deprioritize it. So I think the way to think about it is, if people know they have an allergy, they could share that information and we could use that in what we recommend. But if there's a category that is commonly something that's going to be an allergic problem to a lot of people, we could exclude it altogether. But that's a question. I mean, Simone, do you think that is evidenced clinically how frequent allergies are? It's not something. I mean, we've looked at it for side effects, but we haven't really talked a lot about the allergy part of that.
I think we should exclude the one that people are commonly allergic to, but I think that would be up to the user's responsibility to check the ingredients or disclaimer, just kind of like how things are. When that
but how do we find the ones that are commonly allergic? Is that information we should review in the 200? We should connect some of that consideration to that.
It is worth exploring, but I haven't seen any mention of allergy. Maybe I've missed it, but I didn't see a whole lot of information on that.
Yeah, I've also seen relatively limited, but there is an allergy section of therapeutic medicinals, and we could look at some of that data or similar data. I'm open to that thread. So maybe we should think about that as part of product roadmap, Ivy, or what do you think, Ivy?
I think it still goes back to having a digital product. Again, it's never enough to emphasize to have our users record their own data. Because I believe that we have talked about this
before.
I support the digital productization, including these dimensions. But are you saying that that's part of how making that part of the interaction process with the user in the product to help them double check that they don't have any known allergies or other conditions that would be interactive with this?
Yeah, would it be possible to have the users report their allergies? Maybe then we can help them look into what to avoid.
I think that's valid. So other context for these metaphors that we have for this of recommendation, navigation. Navigation implies there's, not only the pathways, but you could say there's barriers to adoption, like they're not comfortable with teas, or not comfortable with tinctures, or not comfortable with powders. But if we have the data science revealing dimensions, the effectiveness is one, risks is another. Who is it more effective for? Who is it less effective for? That's like overlapping diseases where there's a secondary disease that they have that we can see that it's more effective for those who have these conditions in common. So, I mean, I think that there's, also interesting information, which is that, one reviewer may have revealed in another review that they're facing XYZ condition. And, for example, ADHD interacts with anxiety. And maybe they said in another review that they're ADHD. And then in this review, they've talked about ashwagandha. So, there is potential to extract multiple reviews from one public user and then use that information to then identify covariates. But I think there's a question of what we need on the data science for this to be a data lake and then a data warehouse and then a process where we can look at all the crosstabs of this, so to speak, to say what are where not only where is there outperformance of effectiveness, but we have information in the presentation earlier in the week by Simone mentioned the potential to show from the data which products took longer to be effective. Like people say it helps me within minutes, or it helps me within hours, or I take it every day for a month and it really helped me, etc. So we have the different kinds of attributions in terms of length till effect. We have the different adjectives for the level of effect. So I just want to get feedback from the data science colleagues too on this thread in terms of how we get to the point where our data science integrates these questions. So if we treat the most common questions someone would have would be if they're facing stress and anxiety and they're interested in the potential for natural remedies that would be healthy for them, then there's the question of what ingredients would be effective for them, what products would be effective for them, what expectations they need to have in terms of timeline till effectiveness, what expectations do they have in terms of the level of effectiveness, what expectations should they have in terms of combinations of ingredients and products that can achieve those goals. So I think that these all become dimensions that we need to have connected to our data science journey. So I just want to check in with some of those threads. So Shikui, did you want to offer feedback on these threads that we've been discussing here?
Hello. So I think yeah, the data science team can play a role in this analysis. Like we can include the ingredients, include the products, and we can also track when the users get into our system, and then if we can have their information, like how many products they had before, how frequent they had before, and we can build the models. Like they might be interested in other products based on our historical data, and then we can make a corresponding recommendations to them, and then check their check their historical product consumption information.
Yeah, so that's more in the the Netflix prize looked at historical data of what people were watching and then recommended which they would like in the future. In this case, we're saying, suppose we think about this, that we have the drop shipping subscription box, but we could also offer a drop shipping store of alternatives that are in our library of medicinal foods one by one, potentially. If we were to, we could say, okay, you ordered this. How effective was it? Oh, not very effective. Okay, well, for people who did not find that effective, we recommend this. For people who did find that effective and they want something further in that direction, we recommend that. So I wonder if that's partially connected to this question of digital navigation, Ivy, per your comment a few moments ago. But I think that's really interesting. Feedback SU on the same.
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Ivy.
I was just putting the headsets back. So I think Xinqing was more referring to data collection with the help of an app or maybe a web application, so that we could. I think their historical data, what they used before, could be helpful. Maybe we, as like a user intake form, we could ask, oh, what kind of herbs and like natural ingredients we're using before. And then once you start the subscription dropshipping, have them record their data for how long they took specific type of tea, and for how many days or how many weeks they use this ingredients, and then eventually also have them record the effective, how they feel, if the ingredients are taking effectiveness, and eventually, hold on. Sorry, I just forgot something I wanted to say. Also, Vasimon mentioned previously about maybe these users, while taking the natural green ingredients and also taking medications, that might help them feel differently too. Maybe they're still taking Xannies. So that those are the type of data that we also want to collect once we start dropshipping. Does that answer your question?
I think that's really, really relevant, and I'm going to connect that thread to Simone. Data that you think is needed in order to achieve this public health purpose, and how that can connect to the idea of goal setting. Simone, did you want to reflect on what we were just discussing? There's goals in terms of achieving a recommendation that is the right recommendation, and then there's goals in terms of achieving a population level adoption.
Yes, I was curious about the mobile app, and I wanted to know what kind of features are you planning to include from a public health perspective. I would think if you have something interactive with goal setting, achievement and user feedback, if they could log in their diet and how much they consume, those are all good data we can collect. And is there anything for social support and competition? Kind of like how Fitbit, they have these competition. I think that's a good way to get people engaged. Like you get a badge for consuming or meeting whatever goal you had, and these kinds of non-tangible incentives.
I think it's a really interesting set of questions. Ivy, did you want to respond to Simone, or maybe add to consideration some of the dimensions she shared if we want to connect that to the productization collaboration? And maybe that's also something that we can share with Sudarshan and Yuting on the product call.
Yeah, I think Vasimon, I think it would be helpful for Vasimon to help us look into some of the apps already out there that she's familiar with, so that we can learn from these other apps.
I also did want to mention the Apple Watch, I think 6 that's rolling out. They have a feature for mental health and detecting, like if you're having stress or panic attacks. I thought that was interesting. just data out there that we could collect. Or when you talked about before with self-quantified, these are like measurable data that we could collect and use in health promotion.
Definitely. Would you be willing or have the time to join in with a product team call, maybe, Vasamon?
Yeah, when is that?
I think we have one today.
Okay.
5 p.m. PST.
5 p.m. Eastern time?
5 p.m. PST, so 8 p.m.
Pacific
Eastern
time.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
Great. I'll let your team know. I think it would be helpful.
Terrific. And so just to share that context, if there's other feedback we have on the data science threads in terms of thinking about how we get to the point where, okay, so we have the data about the individual user, we have the data about the collective history of all people who have used this, we have the individual share of the public health problem, you have unmanaged stress, how do you deal with it? We also have the social share of the unmanaged stress, like your family has stress, your friends have stress. How do you address those collectively by supporting them in addressing that by learning about these tools? So that could also relate. Let me go around the rest of the room in terms of feedback on these threads. Jose, did you have feedback on where this conversation has taken us in terms of these different metaphors for use that we're dealing with?
I was reading, there was actually a document on Google Drive about that, though it seems that it wasn't finished. It was about the approaches that could be taken for recommendation systems, whether it was content filtering or collaborative filtering. So I don't know if
could you explain that a bit more? Content filtering, or what was the other alternative?
Collaborative filtering. So it's part of the creation of expert systems. So you can create a recommendation. Well, the older paradigm was content filtering, and it was something like Pandora, where at a music curator, an expert, and this expert would analyze all the features of the products you have, in this case, backs, and would recommend, okay, so if you like the Beatles, then probably you will like the Rolling Stones, because I don't know, because they're an expert and they have all this knowledge about it, and that's what they could do. The newer paradigm was collaborative filtering, and it's sort of just said about Netflix or Spotify, where based on some traits that you give the application. So I have consumed this and this, and this has a positive outcome on my health and on this symptom that I was experiencing. So the whole math behind it is it finds a user that has sort of the same experience before, and finds what to use and recommends that to you. So I said it was, I mean, these approaches were in one of the documents in the drive. I don't know if
got it. So in other words, like a mirror. If you're saying we have one pathway is a mirror concept. So we find the reviewer who is most similar to that user, and that reviewer that had a good experience, and we basically guide the user to the path of that reviewer because of their similarity. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Exactly. That's it. So the issue with it is, how do you get all that user experience? So what have you used in the past? So can I pull your Amazon purchase history and your reviews to know what has been successful on you? So that's what makes it a bit difficult. Unless you use it a lot of feedback, then the proper way to go would be through content. So having a lot of research done and maybe publishing in a blog, like, this user was experiencing stress and tried these 3 products, and this was the most successful, or after I don't know, a couple of months using this one, then this was the one that show the highest power.
Well, yeah, I mean, I
treat
think
that.
there's
So-
different ways of looking at it. First of all, it's an interesting idea. You could potentially connect their Amazon accounts history or their email history of receipts from Amazon or other services as a one way to approach it. But the other idea that you just suggested, I thought is really interesting. What if we just asked people to explain in a machine readable way their history of attempts to address stress? Like, instead of assuming that they've never done anything to address stress, assume that they've used alcohol to address stress, which may not be helpful because it can lead to alcoholism if it's abused or used too excessively, too frequently. But for people who use alcohol for stress, there's a healthy alternative. If you have a Luthro as an example, a Luthro and California poppy, there's a group of those that are known as an alternative for alcohol-based stress reduction, right? So you could say for each of these categories, do we want to? How much information do we need from the person to make a recommendation? Now, look, I do want to differentiate. The idea is phase 0 launch use case should be to say we want people to be able to use the information for the average user. But then we have had always the phase 2 planning of how do we recommend to this specific user and not just for the average person. And then beyond that, how do we know enough about them to be able to offer them a specific recommendation? So, it could be that they've, got a checklist. Oh, they've tried chamomile tea. But having tried it doesn't necessarily mean that they, checked in with themselves that they were stressed when they had it. They might have had it because it tasted good. But you could have like a checkbox for the 200 medicinal foods. Have you tried these before? Here are the ones you've tried. Here are the ones you haven't tried. I guess that's a question I'd ask is, is that key for either the drop shipping or the exploration to show people what they haven't tried? It may also be that they want to better understand the pathways and what they have tried and to understand that, I'm using good things. It's just that they only work if I have them for 30 days in a row. And I need something for more like crisis response kind of use case. If I'm really stressed today, not I'm going to be stressed over the month, I need to change my habit. So I think that reflects, there's some different overlappable use cases. Kessie, did you want to react to these different kinds of use cases as they intersect science?
Yeah, sure. So I do think right now we cannot do the collaborative filtering recommendation because we don't have a lot of data in terms of the user data. So let's say right now we do have the user, like their user review, like who reviewed this, but how do we know this person also used another product? So it's really weird that this person
reviewed one person reviewed 50 products. We do know which products one user account on Amazon has reviewed from our medicinal food list, potentially, right?
I would say I think right now we should focus on the content base. So what I originally was thinking was to just look at the product, each product ingredient, and see what are some ingredients that are in this product. And then on top of this, we can build a clustering, and then we can build a recommendation system based on the cosine similarity.
I'm open to that, and I'm also open to saying that if there's a collaborative filtering at some phase in the process, maybe that's a future phase of development to get to the point where that's feasible. Is that what you're suggesting, Kessie? Not that collaborative filtering would never be relevant, but that would be after we have a large number of users.
I think the collaborative would be really good, but it would be in the future because right now we're trying to build an MVP, the minimal viable product. So I would say we focus on the content base, and then once we start implementing this product to the actual user who subscribe to our products, then we can try to work with this data, and then we can build a collaborative recommendation system on top of that.
Got it. Is that something that is agreeable? The person who's just sharing on collaborative filtering, is that aligned to the way you'd think about it? That we think about it as a sequence? Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. As
Um,
long as you have a roadmap. Yeah.
yeah, we should build that as part of it. Can you add that set of analysis as a sort of partial part of the data science roadmap we can connect to? I'm open to documenting that in a way that would be helpful. And maybe Jose, are you interested in helping us on the data science road mapping?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's like I tried to go through all those documents on the drive, but I didn't really find a roadmap.
There's the so-called
yeah,
data
like
science qualitative roadmap, but that's just a short document. So I wouldn't say that's a roadmap proper. That's just some notes towards a future potential roadmap. But maybe you can take a look at that document. I'll send the link in the chat.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I think it was fact that said you could go content-based, collaborative, or an ensemble, but it wasn't finished. So yeah, I'll take a look at it and see what we can do for everyone to build, right? Yeah.
Terrific. Ishika, did you want to offer feedback on what we've been discussing here? Welcome. Hi, Ishika. Okay. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Ishika.
Yeah, Bobby, right now I don't have anything to give it as a feedback because I joined just some minutes back. So I want to know more details and only I'll be able to give some feedback. I think
All good. We have the recording from the earlier part of the meeting. We can forward after the meeting. So you're welcome to catch up on the earlier part if you wish. Nian, in terms of what we've just been discussing, did you have feedback or commentary?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that our data science team can do, such as the for example, some people are allergic to something, might allergic to another ingredients, and this okay, in the first place, we can ask the users to choose to do a survey that's what they used, what they like, what they don't like, what they're allergic to, and what they're willing to use. And based on the Amazon reviews, we can just make some recommendations that something that they might want to use or they might allergic to that they are not realize. But I think that's the next step because now we are still working on these scrappy things, and I think we can see what we can generate from all the reviews after the scrapping.
And do you see a clear path via the Scrappy to being able to extract enough of the reviews to be able to build an index of the medicinal foods that would then connect from the effectiveness checker into a data warehouse where we would then be able to show for the reviews by combination of ingredient, here's what we have in evidence?
I'm still looking into the code of data scrappy, so now I'm not quite sure about it, but I think it's I think we can do it, and I think I can see the path, after the understanding of the code.
Got it. Kong Yu, did you want to offer feedback or commentary on what we've been discussing here?
Yeah, sure. So, like the only concern that I have right now is I think I still feel like just user review are not enough for building like the system. I kind of feel like if we can collect more hard evidence like academic journal or something like this, and then will that be more persuasive? Yeah,
we still want that too. So that's a separate team's process. But Vaisimone's on that team, and so Sarah has been connective to that. If you'd like, are you saying that you want to help with that part of the process, Kogyu, the academic evidence? If so, we can include you in that.
If there is anything like need to use data science techniques, I can definitely help.
Simone, do you want to cross-reference her with the public health process accordingly?
Yes, that is a future project. Right now, we're building the evidence through secondary research, but through primary research methods such as survey tools or collecting quantified self data. I think data science could help leverage those kind of health data. I don't know how many people are familiar with like Fitbit and Apple Watch and how that's used to improve health.
I think that she's not referring to that primary data. She's referring to quantitative methods in secondary data research. So, for example, if she looked at PubMed or other indexes in terms of all the ashwagandha articles and classifying them, or et cetera. So that part of the process, I think, is what she's connecting to.
Okay, definitely join our public health meeting on Monday, and then we can talk more about that.
Okay, cool.
Do you have Kong Yu's details, Vi Simone? Can you add her to the meeting invite?
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, so Yon Ting, did you have feedback on what we've been discussing here?
Yeah, you say if we want to like have more stuff, more in-depth stuff for the patient thing, I think we should discover more like the medical thing, more chemical, to have a
Right.
like variety analyze for our patients or our visitors.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it would be excellent to have that chemical review. And that's I think if you've shared your email with Vi Simone for Public Health, Yonting, and join for that call, I think that is excellent. And if we can work towards a process where we look at chemical clusters across the 200, in other words, we've got the 9 pathways clinically evidenced. We should look at the chemical evidence of the same and see how they cluster. So I think that would be extremely helpful to understand at that dimensionality. Pei Swan, did you want to offer any commentary on what we've just been discussing? Pei Swan Lin? Okay, I can't hear you. So, SU, did you want to offer any commentary on what we've been discussing?
Yeah, so talking about the getting information from the users by the survey, I think it would be great if we could design the survey by applying questions just within the binary choice. In that way, we could get more effective data and more clean data for us to analyze.
I think survey research methods are great to connect to that. I think that there's a question of whether there's already survey research on stress and anxiety that we can build off of in terms of our existing public health research and research context. I also think that surveying if you're interested in the surveying SU, I think the way to apply that is in the drop shipping team. Have you do you want to be cross-referenced with the drop shipping team, because that's where we're going to be able to have the survey show up for each product that they buy and see how it was effective for them?
Sure.
Do you have? Can you type your email in the chat so I can, or is that Yuki YU?
Yeah.
That one. Okay. All right. I'll add you to the drop shipping container for Monday. And if anyone else wants to be copied into sub teams, we have a drop shipping team, we have a public health team, we have the product team, and we have teams that we could include folks in if they wish. So please feel free to let me know. Oh, I think we still So we have for my Simone's question on that. I think that was Cog you. Could you share your email with the chat for my Simone to include you on that?
Yeah, sure. I will type them in the chat.
Terrific. And then she'll add you to the public health working group. I just added SU to the drop shipping. So we're at time, y'all. So I'd like to thank everyone for collaborating today on foods and herbs for stress and anxiety and for sleep. It's important to be able to collaborate across interdisciplinary lines and across disciplinary lines in order to make feasible for anybody to navigate this. Grateful that each of you have had the patience this Saturday to collaborate on this, and looking forward to continuing threads. In the meantime, have a phenomenal Saturday, all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.